You're listening to a Whales Are Whales production.
You're also listening to Whales.
Visit whalesorewhales.com for more projects and shows like this one.
Greetings.
Howdy, and welcome to Hearthaholics episode 13. This is a Hearthstone strategy podcast about sitting back, chatting with friends, and figuring out how to be more awesome at this game. I am your host, Bryan, and today we're going to be talking about what we learned this last season of Hearthstone. Billy is going to bring us a custom card that he created, and Andres wants to talk about a mid-range paladin deck, all along with a listener topic that we'll be getting to later in the show. So, Billy, how are you doing?
I am doing very well. And I'm super excited this week. Just been playing a lot of Hearthstone, and excited to talk about cards with you guys. Because cards.
I feel like, it's a good thing that we like talking about cards, because Hearthstone is, contrary to popular opinion, a card game. But I do feel like this is the first time in a long time that we've all actually been playing a lot of Hearthstone in the last week. It feels right? Like one of us is always like doing something else, like playing RuneScape or working and not doing any video games or something crazy. So Andres, you've also been playing Hearthstone, right?
I have also been playing Hearthstone,
That's awesome.
As you have been a witness of, especially today. Wow, I play a lot of Hearthstone today.
Well, to be fair, most of our conversations about Hearthstone recently have been you and me frustratedly talking about how we can't get out of rank 3.
I finally broke rank 3 last week.
As did I. I went down to rank 4.
You broke back.
Exactly.
He went the other way.
And you went up to rank 2. So the world is at peace again. Andres is above me in ranks. All is well
Balance
with the land
has been
restored. Indeed. So yeah, what's been getting you up to rank 2 again? Like, what did you switch up? Is it still just patron warrior?
No, I stopped playing patron because I was running into a lot of warrior hate. Harrison Jones is a thing right now, especially around the ranks that I'm at. Everyone is running Harrison Jones.
Yep. They're jonesing for some warrior.
Yeah, and also decks that were like really teched out against patrons. So I dropped it for a little bit in favor of mid-range paladin, and that worked out for me. I got up to rank 1 today for a little bit, and then went back to rank 2 after a couple of contested games. And I'm sitting at rank 2 with 5 stars right now.
Ah, that's awesome. So yeah, you're right on the cusp there. I think you can make it if this weird random maintenance period goes away.
I
so
don't
you
know
can
what
actually
just
play
happened.
tonight.
Right before we started the show, this maintenance went on. I wonder what that is, because it's the end of the season. Right now, that shouldn't be happening. And I'm sure there's a lot of players right now who are going like, WTF is going on here.
Yeah, so
making my final push, trying to make my BlizzCon points.
Everybody listening to this, it's already the start of next season, I would imagine. So what's happening now is we're only a couple hours out. Well, I say a couple. I mean like 8 hours out from the season being over. And the servers have just randomly gone down. And I'm underneath the theory that the servers are getting DDoSed by somebody who likes the legend rank that they're at.
That won't start any controversy. Like that's not an inflammatory theory to have at all.
No, well, it doesn't affect me because I'm not even in Legend, so I don't care. But I would imagine either someone's just angry at Blizzard because they're Blizzard, or someone is trying to secure their Legend rank or something.
It's
because
possible,
it's just such a random maintenance thing. Usually they announce like either a day before or even 2 days before, and they just went ahead and threw this maintenance up. And they recently just had a maintenance. Like yesterday, I think there was maintenance.
Yeah, this makes no sense. It's not on their normal schedule. It'd be a really weird time to just release a feature. It's just like there must be something bad going on with their servers.
Yeah, I'm sure that something went wrong because they wouldn't be doing a maintenance at this time, not the last day of the season.
Totally.
Yeah.
So Billy, what have you been up to in Hearthstone? I saw you were streaming some the other day.
Yeah, I've started up a streaming schedule. My entire day is now playing Hearthstone and producing Hearthstone content up until about like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So like I'm
living
pretty
the
much
dream.
Yeah, right. just not getting paid for it. No, but I've been really enjoying streaming because it's been something that I've always wanted to do, and I've just never had the opportunity. But the opportunity has arisen, and I can do that now. So I'll be streaming every morning, Monday through Friday.
What is the Twitch URL for that?
Twitch.tv/B Broly, I think. Hold on one second. Yes.
Good thing to know.
Twitch.tv/B Broly.
All right. And what, say again, like in Central Standard Time Zone, what's your streaming schedule going to be like?
I stream from 8 CDT till 12 CDT. No, 11 CDT.
AM or PM?
This is PM for you guys. Sorry.
Okay, so 8 PM to 11 PM. That's really good for us.
Yeah, there you go. I'll be streaming from those hours on most days of the week. The only days of the week I can't do that is podcast day and hangout day. Yeah. But I will be doing short streams on those days.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I will definitely be checking that out because that's right about when I'm like done working on any given day. And yeah, I encourage any and all listeners, check that out. If you can't get enough of Billy's awesomeness on this podcast, then you can listen to him actually playing Hearthstone for hours on end.
Granted, I haven't been playing it well recently, but don't you worry.
When I hopped in for a second, you were playing OTK Warrior.
I was playing a lot of OTK Warrior because I just wanted to play a little bit on the Europe servers because season's almost over, so I just wanted to mess around on my European account.
Get to Legend.
Yeah, right. But the only cards I have on that, I have a very limited collection, so I just had enough to make an OTK deck, and I was playing with that, and I was lucky enough to go from like rank 19 to 13 or something without losing, which was pretty good. Oh no, I lost once to an Inner Fire Priest, but that's not even a thing.
That's really good. That was what my early season was like with my Midrange Zulok, but things didn't stick that way once I made it to rank 3.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
That's a good point.
Rank 3 is the worst, guys. I just gotta say.
It's a tough rank for sure.
Next season, because I'll be streaming so much, I'm sure I'll get higher up than 9 or whatever I ended on this season.
Yeah, my prediction is next season you will probably be higher than me, but maybe I'll be able to put more time into it than I'm thinking. But we will see. That the competition will continue. Andres, I think I'll concede this round to you. But
well, we'll see. I don't know how I'm going to finish mine. Maybe I run into a really bad lose streak or something in the rank 4 too.
Oh, that would make me so sad. The last day, you just tilt and just lose 10 games in a bunch.
That'll be terrible.
That would be pretty bad. Don't do that, Andres. I think you can make it to Legend. But yeah, speaking of your climb to Legend, let's go ahead and talk about your topic this week, which is Midrange Paladin. So, what made you decide to go with that?
Sure thing. Well, Midrange Paladin is such an interesting deck. Or I don't want to say interesting because some people actually categorize it as boring. Because Midrange Paladin is not a flashy deck. It's not a deck that wins like Patron or Oil Rogue with amazing plays that wipe the board and deal a ton of damage to your opponent and finish off everything in one big turn. Midrange Paladin is more of the play it safe, play it slow, and just win throughout the game. Like as time goes by, all your minions are really resilient, like mini bots, shredders, belchers. You get Tyrion Fordring, which is arguably one of the best legendaries in the game. You got Sylvanas, Muster for Battle. I like running Quartermaster, so you have a lot of tools. I think it's a deck that is very well balanced and has a little bit of everything. The main thing that I like about that deck is the versatility. It has very few bad matchups, and the bad ones that it has are not super unfavored. Like, you can still win those just because you have so many tools to come back with, like Equality, Consecrate. You can gain back the board at any time. You can bring yourself back up with Lay on Hands. Some people taking heal bots to get a little more healing. That's the other cool thing about this deck, that depending how you tech it, there's a bunch of different ways to tech it. You can make it good against like a wide variety of things. So it's a deck that has a lot of versatility, a lot of different uses, and can have a lot of early aggression as well as a very powerful mid game and a solid late game with Tyrion, Doctor Boom, and the like. So I think it's a well-rounded deck. That's why I switched back to it. Just because, as you might have experience in your ladder climb this season, rank 3 is a little bit of a hectic place right now. There's so many different decks, and so many of them have different strategies that the deck that you're playing either has to be a really aggressive rush deck that doesn't care about your opponent's strategy, or it has to be a deck that can win against a wide variety of different decks.
Yeah, it's hard to predict and follow up on. So if you like really take a deck that wins certain matchups really well and is weak in others, or tech too much towards a specific direction, you find yourself kind of in an annoying position where it's like, I don't want these cards at all now because I'm going up against, Mallylock instead of Hunter. And so having something that can just get by if you play it well enough can be really nice.
Exactly. For example, back in the day when Hunter was super popular, the Death Rattle Hunter with Undertaker that everyone and their mom was playing, ladder was a little simpler back then because you could literally make a deck that was just really good against Hunter and wasn't as good against other matchups. And 70% of your matchups might have been Hunter. So if you had a really good chance against those, you were in a great spot. And then if you get matched against a control deck or something like that, you wouldn't worry as much because, oh well, if I lose this matchup, I'll just get matched against 3 Hunters next and I'll be good to go.
Yep.
But nowadays that is not true anymore.
See, this is what everyone gets for wanting a healthy and varied meta. It's ruining everything.
Alright, can't I just get the legend by beating up on Hunters with 5 Lay on hands
or
in
by
my deck?
playing Hunter. There were all these options before.
That works as well, I guess. Can I just say I kind of want Undertaker back as it was, just to see what it'd be like for a week?
I kind of miss him. It's just sad that it doesn't get used at all anymore. It's just completely dead.
Yep.
Such a powerful card.
That pun was hilarious, Andres.
Get it? Dead. Aha.
I like that. But yeah, I was excited to see, actually even before I heard you were playing Paladin, Andres, I switched back to it because someone I follow on Twitter had gotten to Legend with it. And I'm like, Paladin was like my favorite deck from a couple months back. And now that it seems to actually have a place in the meta again, for a while people were just hating on it because of the patron matchup. But now that it seems to be playable again, or at least people seem to think it is, I was really excited to go into it again and just try it because I have a special place in my heart for this deck. It was probably the first deck I really learned well. And it's been going okay for me. I'm at about a 50% win ratio with it, but I haven't played a ton of games. What have you been finding? Do you think it's different from how you used to play it, Andres, or do you basically think it's just bring it back in because the time is right for it?
I think it's pretty much the same mid-range paladin that appeared after GVG when Monster for Battle came out. I think it's still very similar to that. I think some people have added a couple different texts Blessing of Kings. I've been running one Blessing of Kings.
I've got a question. Billy has a question about that.
Sure.
Explain to me Blessing of Kings and for what reason we're running it.
It's a 4-cost spell.
Yes, I know what Blessing of Kings does.
It gives a minion +4 attack and +4 health.
Okay, so it's easy to say what the card does, but why is it in the deck?
I'm sorry, Billy, we're out of time for this segment.
I need to know because I don't understand. Explain to me Blessing of Kings.
Why are you running Blessing of Kings?
I think the card has a place in this deck. I don't think it's necessary if it's not the type of thing that you like. If you don't like the card, I don't think you should run it. There's a million things you can run instead. But having said that, it comes in handy in situations when you can Blessing of Kings mini bot with a Divine Shield on it, or you can Blessing of Kings one of your dudes. This is a deck that is always fighting for board control and always wants to stay on top of things. And Blessing of Kings, since you more than likely always have a board, either a dude or a mini bot or something that came off of a shredder, the Blessing of Kings is almost always never dead, and it's just an instant, hey, +4/+4, you're not expecting this. Or it can also help you close out the game, so it has a lot of versatility.
The two factors I see from Blessing of Kings that help Paladin a lot right now is one, what you just mentioned, which is burst damage, and that's something that Paladin can have a lot of trouble with, is ending a game. And having a card that can get you 4 damage on the board immediately is very nice, especially if you can combine it with a True Silver. Suddenly you have 8 damage of burst for 8 mana, so you can actually, get somewhere that's discounting everything else you'll have on the board. I think the second thing that it helps with is like Zulok, like you said, Andres, you really want board control. And this is the type of card that you can buff one of your cards, trade something, and most likely the thing you traded into it will stay alive and the thing you traded into dies. So it's both removal and building your own board, similar to something like Bane of Doom or Implosion for a Zulok. So it's not only removing a threat, but it's also keeping a threat on your board that the opponent then has to deal with at the same time. So I think like those to me are kind of like the two functions that card is serving right now.
Yeah, for example, today I was against a druid, and I played Minibot on the second turn, and he had no answer.
Did you have a coin?
He didn't. He just played Wall Growth, and then he passed back. And I had the coin. I just Blessing of Kings the Minibot, and unfortunately for him, he didn't have Keeper of the Grove, and that Minibot did like 18 damage.
He's like, innervate, recycle.
Yeah.
Boom.
I was thinking more Blood Knight, but alright, that works. Alright, you guys have educated me. A Blessing of Kings makes sense to me now. The health is what sells me on it, the fact that it gets 4 health as well. Because in my head, I was thinking, well, like, alright, you want something that costs 4, and you want something that does damage. I'd almost see Dark Iron Dwarf as a better card because you get a 4/4 and you get a bit of burst damage, making your trades easier. But you're right, you don't get the 4 health, and keeping stuff alive is important, especially when you can throw it on a, shielded Minibot.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense now that you guys have explained it to me.
There we go. That's what this podcast is about, Billy. It's about being helpful and teaching things. It's also about giving us an excuse to talk about Hearthstone. But,
Mainly that.
Yes. So yeah, I'm trying to bring up my match history to see if there were any interesting trends I noticed, but probably my one problem with the deck right now, and I'm curious what you think, Andres, is so the version I worked with, which was from a person whose name I cannot possibly pronounce, but is spelled Xzirez. So is it Xyrez?
Xyrez?
I'm assuming the X is silent?
Like,
so we're going to go with
Xyrez.
Alright, Xyrez. Yeah, something like that.
We'll go
Point
with that.
is, you made a cool
But
deck.
yeah, the thing that really confuses me about this deck is that it runs 2 zombie chows. And that feels so clunky to me.
I was running 2 zombie chows when I was seeing a lot more hunter. Like 2 zombie chows, 2 mini bots, plus 2 musters, and then 2 belchers is just so good against hunter, and it gives you so much control.
How is this deck fitting everything into it? What is it cutting? It has 2 quartermasters, 2 chows.
Well, it doesn't run weapon name. I'm totally blanking on the 3-cost weapon that gives something taunt divine shield.
Oh,
Cockhammer.
Cockhammer is kind of a tech card. Not necessarily a tech card, but it's kind of an optional card anyway.
Yeah, but that's out of there.
It does cut an equality.
Yeah, I mean, that, honestly, single equality was pretty popular for Paladin for a long time. It runs this isn't standard in Midrange Paladin, but it does run none of the late game beyond Tyrion, so there's no Kel'Thuzad or anything in here either.
There was a heavier version of it that ran Kel'Thuzad and the likes, but this is more of the traditional Midrange Paladin. This is more of the Midrange Paladin that I used before to get to Legend, where it just runs Dr. Boom, Tyrion, and Sylvanas.
The Azure Drake seems new as well. Is Azure Drake in?
Well, they took out Harrison for the one you're looking at. So there's no Harrison in that
Drake
either.
is also a cool card that can be interchanged. Like, you can take out Drakes. Like, for example, I took out the Drakes for a minute and was running Healbot and Harrison Jones as tech cards. Or you can also, let's say, if you're running into a lot of Control Warrior or something where the Healbot is unnecessary, you can take that out and put him back at Drake. If you run into a lot of Hunter, the Drake is not as useful. You can put in the Minibot, the Healbot, so on. The Drake is just better for the control matchup and the mid-range matchup. The Healbot and the Harrison Jones are just kind of tech cards depending on what you're seeing.
Totally. So, Andres, seems like you played a lot more games of this deck than I have. I'm at about 10 games right now at exactly 50%. But what have you been finding from it? Like, has it been super successful for you? Are there any matchups you hate seeing?
There's not any matchup that I really hate seeing. I think this deck has a good chance against most of them. Rogue sometimes is a little scary because they do have the ability of answering all of your board. Let's say the rogues can answer the shielded mini-bots really easily by just pinging them with the weapon and then SI agent or backstabbing them. They can also, if you have like a Quartermaster Muster combo, they can deal with it with the Blade Fury and like a boosted weapon.
Yeah.
So
it's also worth noting that like Rogue is nowhere to be found. Like
yeah,
the
guy that
I've run into
uploaded
a couple of rogues, but
the
yeah,
guy
they're
that
not
uploaded this
rare.
deck very recently, the deck that we're talking about right now, has 100 and hold on, math is hard. 174 games played with the deck that he tracked, and only 4 of them were against Rogue.
Yeah, Rogue is not very popular right now, which is one of the reasons why this deck is coming back right now. Because Rogue was one of the main reasons I was keeping it down for a little bit. Patron Warrior can be a toss-up. I know a lot of people say that this deck is terrible against Patron Warrior. I don't personally think it's that terrible. I think you have a very fair chance. The problem with that matchup is that if you just so happen to not have your Equality Consecrate, and the Warrior happens to have the Patron combo, it can be a little tricky to gain back board control. It's not impossible, especially if you play clever, if you're playing around the combos and you plan ahead of things, unless they just have like an incredible combo turn. You can usually...
Something interesting I saw I think his notes is the Azure Drake into Consecrate for Patron.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't considered
Azure Drake
before.
and Consecration works. Unfortunately, it's 9 mana.
Yeah, it'd be like if you had Azure Drake on the board.
Patron combo comes down on turn 8, right? So like theoretically you should have...
This is true, but they could do something like
The Warsong Patron combo comes out in turn 8. Most Patron
But that's
Warrior,
the combo we're talking about, right?
Well,
We're talking about
there's a lot of
against the
combos.
Patron.
There's a lot of combos in that deck. For example, ideally for the Patron Warrior, he equips a Death Spite on turn 4 and attacks whatever you have on the board or your face. On turn 5, he plays the Patron Warrior and inner rages it, making 2 of them, and then attacks with the Death Spite that has only 1 charge, creating 4 patrons. And even though the Warsong Commander is not out there, now you have to deal with 2 3/3 patrons, a 3/2 patron, and a 5/1 patron.
Right.
That's one of the combos that they do. Or they can also just Death Spite, play patron on turn 6, and then use the Whirlwind from the Death Spite and another Whirlwind to create another 4 patrons.
I think that's one of the...
like,
oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that for the Warrior, it's not as necessary for the patrons to have charge in this matchup, just because of what I said. Unless the Paladin has Equality Consecrate, they can have a really hard time answering that board. As a Paladin, you have to be very careful and very smart about your plays, especially if you don't have that kind of safety mechanism that Equality Consecrate brings you. But as long as you play it smart, you have a good chance. But it's true. If you don't have the answer to that board and the warrior is able to develop the patrons and you just can't answer them that turn, then it's a downhill battle from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think about Black Knight these days? Like in a deck like this?
I don't know if I would run
There's
Black
nothing
Knight.
for it to hit, right?
Yeah, what would you want to hit with Black Knight right now?
Belcher, and Black Knighting a Belcher isn't great.
Well, I mean, there is still some hand luck out there. Additionally, Belcher is fairly common, and also a lot of the aggro decks are running Argus. Stuff like Zulog.
I did run into one hand luck today, and Black Knight can be nice against hand luck, but honestly, this deck already has plenty of tools. You have 2 Alder Peacekeepers,
Right.
You have 1 Equality, maybe 2 if you take it in, and you also have 1 Big Game Hunter. So you have a lot of tools to answer the Warlock.
That makes sense.
But Handlock can be a tough matchup sometimes too, because double Hellfire and 1 Shadow Flame can be tough on your board.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're fine. I think the only thing that you would want Black Knight for is the handlock matchup, and I don't think it's worth running a 6-cost Yeti in most cases for it to sometimes be a Black Knight against handlock.
That's a fair point. I mean, it's also good against the Tyrion matchup, but I mean, that's a fairly rare occurrence. And you want to be preferably silencing him.
Today, the thing that I was running into the most was Control Warrior, Patron Warrior. I run into a couple of mid-range hunters. Surprisingly, no mages. Mages were gone.
Yeah, that's interesting. They were really common there for a while.
Ooh, that means I can play Freeze Mage again, because no one should be running Kazan Mystic.
Especially at rank 3 and 4, it was unbelievable the amount of mages that I run into, and suddenly they're gone now. and I run into that new paladin that people have been running, the aggro paladin.
Yeah.
That just goes phase really fast.
I haven't
and
been
tries to
super
kill
impressed
you.
with that so far.
I gave it a try today. I won a couple of games and I lost a couple of games too. It's pretty much an all-in deck. You just go face, and if you really, really have to, you trade.
That might be one reason I don't like it. It's just never been my bag. But yeah,
it's interesting though that there's such a fast paladin right now. I feel like there's a lot of classes now that have very aggressive decks like that.
Yeah, with Paladin, with Midrange coming back, I mean, that leaves, Shaman and Priest and Rogue is the three that don't really have multiple incarnations being run right now.
Yeah, I was reading a cool article today about how a lot of classes have seen this hybridization of things, where the class has a really wide spectrum, starting from really fast aggro, then they have like a little mid-range, and then they also have heavy late-game control decks. Warlock can be a good example of that. You can run a very like aggressive death rattle, going to your face style zoo. You can also do more of a mid-rangey kind of like zoo lock, like the demon lock that you were running with void collars and a little bit of a late game, and then you can run like very heavy control like hand lock. Same thing with Paladin, and same thing with Mage is a good example. Yeah, you have like the super tempo Mage, then you have like a more mid-rangey kind of like mech Mage, and then you have like very slow freeze mage or grinder mage. Yeah, grinder mage is probably like the slowest of all.
It's like literally named after the fact that it will make everything grind to a halt. Like this is going to take forever.
So it's cool. It's cool how a lot of classes have that wide spectrum, and then lately I think that people have been experimenting in the middle of those archetypes rather than going like super mid-rangey or super fast. They're kind of like going between, kind of like hybrid hunter. It takes a little bit of both.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that decks like Midrange Paladin aren't just dying off. Like, I really like to see this resurgence of old stuff. Who knows, maybe one day.
I think Midrange Paladin is really good, especially once you know how to use it. And the cool thing about Midrange Paladin is that it's not a super hard deck to play.
No, not really.
You're not having to count incredible numbers every turn to pull off a combo or anything. Most of the time, you're playing for value and playing on curve. You want to make the most efficient use of your mana, and then you always want to play to have the board and playing around whatever your opponent might be able to play. But aside from that, is a rather straightforward deck, right? The turns you might plan ahead for might be like a quartermaster turn. Like, when do you use your muster? Is it a good time to use it right now? Will my little dudes be able to live till the next turn to do my quartermaster? But aside from that, most of the minions you're just playing on curve, right? Like the Shredders or Belchers or your Dr. Boom.
Going back to it, though, there is a difficulty to playing the deck, or more of a subtlety to playing the deck, in that since you don't necessarily have these big cards to win it out for you, you really have to rely on all of the small decisions you're making throughout the game kind of stacking up. You're not just going to get a Doomguard power overwhelming blowout turn. Like,
you're very right about that. Just because you don't have amazing burst with this deck, or like an incredible wombo combo that turns around things. I mean, Equality Consecrate can be something like that, but it is more like a regain.
But that doesn't win you a game. It
doesn't win you a game. It just brings you back into it. This deck really, really relies on you knowing how to trade and knowing when to play your minions. It's very important that you keep into account what your opponent's going to play next turn, so you don't play into his removal, or you don't play a minion that might be ineffective against him the next turn.
Yeah, similarly to how I recommend Zulok as a good first deck for people to learn, I think this is like a really great like second or third deck if you want to take it to that next kind of intermediate state. Like, it really teaches you the fundamentals of board control and kind of or not even just the fundamentals, but the next level of that type of thought really well, I think. Because again, you can't just rely on the power of your own deck. You very much have to watch the game at every step and slowly ramp into a victory.
Yes, with this deck, you're always thinking about what is the best way that I can make my board really hard to deal with for my opponent and make it as effective as possible against whatever he's gonna play.
And because it's so varied, it's a lot easier to not just say, I got a bad matchup, that's why I lost. And every matchup is winnable if you play it right and think about it. I mean, you're going to get bad draws.
With this deck, almost every matchup is winnable. I agree with that.
And that makes it a lot more instructive to learn early on, because you can't just blame your deck for it. If you can build this deck and work it, and you're going to get okay draws most of the time, then you can really just focus on the fundamentals of playing it and not worrying so much just about what you're facing.
Yeah. Also, the really cool thing about this deck is that, especially whenever you get a good hand, there's very few turns where you have a dead hand. Starting from turn 1, you can play zombie chows. Turn 2, you can play mini bots or jugglers. Turn 3, you play your muster for battle. Turn 4, you have your shredders and your true silver champions. Turn 5, you have your Harrison Jones, or you have your Belchers, or you have your Azure Drake. Turn 6, you have Sylvana. So it curves out really, really well. And most of the turns, especially if you don't draw into all your removal or something, and you mulligan well, you mostly find yourself playing really, really cool minions, really good minions every turn.
Yeah, I mean, evidence against that is the one game I played where I believe my hand was Ironbeak Owl, Quartermaster Consecration, and that one felt pretty bad.
Sometimes that happens, but even the owl. Sometimes the owl is nice to have it in your starting hand. For example, against the hunter, I get really happy when I have like Zombie Chow Owl in my starting hand. I'm like, yes,
totally. Especially in like a mirror matchup, like Shield and Minibot. No, sir.
The Minibot is so good. Like, there's rarely a matchup where you don't want to drop that guy on turn 2.
And the nice thing about him is he's even good later turns. Like you said, you can buff him up, and he's really versatile. Like the shield, just you can get so much out of that.
Yeah, all your minions are very resilient, which is really good.
I wish Mech Paladin was a thing. I don't know why I just brought that up. You just brought up Minibot, right?
Poor Paladin. It doesn't get Mech Paladin. It doesn't get Dragon Paladin. It's just like actual Paladins. It's stuck being the boring, safe, nice guy in the back of the room who can't drink because he made a vow. That's Paladin for you. It's just like, oh well, for the light, let's play Midrange again.
He got like such cool cards. Poor Uther. He got cool cards in both GVG and BRM, but no decks came of it.
Muster for battle. GVG revolutionized Paladin.
And
Muster for battle was probably the coolest card they've gotten in a long time.
I mean,
the mech stuff, all the
theme of the expansions is what I was meant to say didn't work in Paladin.
Totally. I love the addition of Muster for Battle and Quartermaster kind of defining Paladin, because it very much made it like the white token deck of Magic finally finding a home in Hearthstone. So yay for that. I'm probably going to be playing this come next season. And speaking of next season, that kind of ties into the topic I wanted to talk about this week, which is now that this season is pretty much done, except for the few hours Andres is going to spend tonight getting to Legend and succeeding at it.
I appreciate the vote of confidence.
Apart from that, like looking back on this season, what did you mostly spend your time on? And like, did you learn anything new about Hearthstone? Like, did your perspective on anything in particular, to your playstyle, to your decks change much? Or what was this last season like for you? And Billy, I'm going to start with you.
All right,
Put you on the spot.
I feel like this is not necessarily the greatest question for me this season. I feel like this season was a very passive season for me. I wasn't I wasn't playing too much. I barely even finished in the single digits, which is kind of disappointing for me.
Right.
I would imagine next season I'll have a much better answer for you. But
sure,
this season I feel like I've picked up a couple things just from watching streamers and just talking to you guys. I feel like I've gotten a lot less angry at the game. Like I feel
that's good.
Whenever I used to lose a match, I'd be like, I would think about what happened, and I'd be like, he needed this one card, and he got this one card. That is so unlucky. And then, like, now what I'll do is like, well, could I have played around that card? Is there a way that card couldn't have been his only card? Is there a way I could have made it so there was no card he could have drawn? And I don't know. I feel like I'm putting more thought into things. I feel like I'm taking the game more seriously, but not getting offended when I lose, or not getting upset when I lose, awesome. Which I believe is obviously a healthier way to approach the game.
Absolutely.
And probably one that will burn you out slower.
Yeah, exactly. That's that as well.
It's just going to be a more pleasant experience overall.
Oh, and I made a huge mistake this season of deleting all my golden cards.
You mean an excellent decision that breaks
Nope.
Learn
all
from
of
your
your
mistakes,
addictions.
Billy.
It's been a very healthy season for you.
Never disenchant your golden collection again.
Don't worry, I won't.
Do it right now.
Just cast a Thorison Golden. I'm not disenchanting my golden cards.
Just stop giving bad advice, Bryan.
It's great advice. Okay, every listener that's listening right now, I want you to wait for a second. Pause the show, go into your collections, and delete all of your golden cards, and then come back.
No, don't listen to him.
Email us how much
really
dust you
bad
made
idea.
from doing that, and how much
And
fuller
then
your life is now.
A year from now, when you're upset that you don't have those golden cards, you can email Bryan in particular, not us
A year from
collectively.
now, when you literally don't even remember those golden cards ever existed, and you're a 10 times legend because you crafted that Sylvanas, then you can email us and thank us for this wonderful advice we gave you.
All right, ignore him. Any golden card, any card you get, keep it, unless, of course, you already have 2 of them. Trust me.
Fine, we'll move on from this.
I wish
Billy's wrong.
I still had Golden Hungry Crab, to be honest. I disenchanted that.
You have a problem.
Actually,
No one wants
I
that.
disenchant a golden hunger crab too, and I kind of miss him too. Now that you
Yeah,
mention
right?
it.
I wish I could say I'm the proud owner of a Golden Hungry Crab.
Yeah, it's
Granted, I'm never
rare.
going to use
I think
him,
it's
but I
rare.
can show it off.
Are
Yeah.
you people paid by Blizzard? Like, is this part of their free-to-play scheme?
Listen.
They just they sell everyone on this idea of golden cards. They're just stealing your money, man.
But
they're
it's,
shiny,
I say this
Bryan.
as someone who
It's
bought
shiny.
Madden.
They are shiny.
It's shiny. They're pretty. They have animations. Haven't you seen them, Bryan?
Fine. Whatever. I'm obviously not going to win this argument.
Probably not. Between
I
me and
probably am
Andres,
not.
I think we care enough about golden cards to win this one.
Listen, if you like your golden cards, like you like your golden cards. If you don't, you don't. But don't hate.
Yeah.
Don't hate
Yeah.
on the golden cards.
Don't hate, just appreciate.
Ooh, see, taglines like that will sell me. Nifty rhymes, like if it was a pun, you would have me completely in your camp.
We'll come up with a golden card rhyme. Don't worry about it.
You'll come
Yeah,
up with
I'm
the
on
gold
it.
standard of puns.
I'll make a rap song about it.
That's the next thing I want to hear from.
I want you to actually do that, and we are going to use that as the
About
outro for
golden
the
cards?
show the week you do. Yeah, when you
I'm
make
on
your
it.
golden card
I'm on
rap.
it.
All right, so everyone, you can look forward to that. What the heck are we talking about? Oh yeah, what did we learn this season? Well, I learned that golden cards are the worst, but I already knew that, so that's actually a cheating answer. I guess one big thing for me was that whole discussion we had about hunters and teching against them and all of that last week. I kind of learned that you guys were right. The Kazan Mystic was a bad idea.
On the Warlock?
Yes, I did try it for a few games, and okay, so there was one game where it won me the game.
Nice.
Then there was every other game where I'm like, why is this 4-drop in my hand? And then there was that a couple other games where I played it, and I'm like, ho-ho, and next turn, they played a Kazan Mystic.
Oh, that is the
And
worst.
Wrecked.
When you get counter Kazan Mystic. Oh,
Wasn't
did
that the
nothing.
week where I said everybody was running Kazan Mystic? Because
there was a week where everyone was doing that, and it
was
just
so
feels like the
weird.
worst thing because you feel so clever when you play. You're like, "Ha! I stole your secret. Now you're screwed." And then they're just laughing in the inside when they just
They're
played
like,
their
"Oh."
Kazan Mystic back, and they're like,
yeah, they're like,
"Ha!
oh, you just
I
played
was
a bad
prepared for
4-drop.
this."
Pretty much. It felt pretty awful. Sometimes I feel like my Kazan Mystic actually has hidden text that says, battle cry, put a Kazan Mystic in your opponent's hand, and I just don't notice it. Maybe that's like the flavor text or something. That should be the flavor text on Kazan Mystic. Kind of go out on a limb there, Blizzard.
That should be like a rule of thumb. Just know that there's a 60% chance that your opponent has Kazan Mystic when
In
you
their
play a Kazan Mystic.
Yeah, but other than that, more importantly, I just like, more than any of the text that I put in against Hunter, I think it was just that idea of playing so differently against Hunter. And just that idea of we were talking about it with Paladin some, don't rely too much on what the cards are in your deck until you've pushed to the limits of what you can do with that deck in terms of playstyle. It reminds me of, for example, I heard advice recently about producing music where the guy was saying, it was from that YouTube channel you recommended actually, Andres, that I forgot the name of, Revolution something.
The Recording Revolution.
The Recording Revolution. There you go.
It's
And he was talking about
great blog and podcast about music production. If anyone is into that sort of thing,
totally, yeah, check it out. And that had been the week he had been doing a series of like doing a whole song on $300 of equipment or something like that. And he made the point that what he generally wanted to say with that whole feature was, don't go out and buy more equipment and assume because you're losing, I need to get more equipment and get more equipment, and this new cool equipment will be better, and this shinier guitar and this new plugin will make my music sound good, because you're probably not leveraging the equipment you actually own now nearly to its full potential. You're probably just trying a little bit and moving on to the next thing, while there's actually way more output you can get from what you're using right now. And I find that similar with decks, in that you don't necessarily need to be teching and changing your decks all the time if you haven't fully mastered how can you play your deck differently around the specific thing you're facing. And since we talked about that, I felt much more confident and have been winning a lot more against Hunter, because I kind of take that mindset instead of the mindset of just, my deck isn't teched for this, has a bad win ratio, instead I probably can't do anything.
What you just said there, that I'm not sure if it was a direct quote, but that kind of guideline of make sure what you have is actually like not good before you move on.
Right.
Because I mean that can be used in everything, even in like what we're doing right now, podcasting. Like this microphone was a lot worse, and then I did like a bunch of research. I got a friend to help me out with my audio tracks and stuff, and now it sounds a lot better. It's still not what I want, but it's a lot better.
Yeah. You can get so much more out of it. It's just like, push what you have now to the limit. Yeah, totally. And
I was going to say that. That's a great analogy for life in general. Just before you think that your skill is limited by the equipment that you own or the tools that you're using, just make sure that you know how to do the thing the best that you can do it, right? Don't go out and spend a bunch of money buying super expensive stuff before you really know how to use it. And I totally agree. This totally applies to any card game, especially Hearthstone. A lot of people blame it on the deck. They get a deck, they play it a couple games, they lose 3 games, and they're like, this deck doesn't work in this meta game right now. But in reality, they might have not taken the time to explore the different game plans that their deck has to offer, and they might have not taken the time to see how to best play their deck against what is out there at the moment. And you can get very, very far just by knowing how to play a deck properly in any meta game, especially right now where it's so diverse. Just pick Handlock or Midrange Paladin or Control Warrior or Patron Warrior. You can pick Midrange Hunter. You can pick Tempo Mage. You can pick Freeze Mage. I mean, pick your poison. Just learn how to play it really well. There's people getting to Legend every day with such a wide variety of decks. It's really a matter of knowing what you're facing, how to face it, knowing how to adapt to that, and being very aware of the game plan as the game is going. Which was what I kind of learned this season, and what I'm trying to get better at. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on a few decks, about what I should be doing in a lot of matchups, how I should be mulliganing. I can always improve, of course. I'm not the best at these decks, but one of the things I was trying to improve the most this season was trying to pick up hints from your opponent as you go, and being very aware during games, because you can gain so much information if you're just paying attention to the right things. For example, I started paying a lot more attention to the mulligan phase. If you wait and see what your opponent mulligans, that can tell you a lot about the deck. And I feel like now more than ever that is super important, because it's sometimes, especially with certain classes, it's so hard to tell what deck you're facing, because they have like 3 different possibilities or even more sometimes. But if you just sit back and like you really pay attention, let's say you're facing a warrior and they mulligan 1 card and keep 2 cards, that can tell you a lot of things. Let's say you're playing the Midrange Paladin. You can instantly think, what does the warrior want to keep in their hand against me? Which is probably like Fiery War Axe or Acolyte of Pain, maybe an Armor Smith. And then because you know that he kept those cards, you can be a little more sure that those are the cards that he has in his hand. Where if, for example, he mulligans all of his cards, you can assume that maybe he didn't draw a Fiery War Axe. So maybe playing that Knife Juggler on turn 2 might actually be a good play.
Instead of the mini-bot or something. Like
instead of the mini-bot, exactly. You could do the Juggler so that you prepare for his turn 3 Acolyte of Pain. And because he plays the Acolyte of Pain, now you can trade safely with the Acolyte. or you can maybe deter him to play the Acolyte because you played your Juggler. So it's that sort of a mentality, like picking up those hints, or sometimes even when your opponent picks up a card and targets one of your minions. For example, if you're playing against a Druid and the Druid targets one of your minions with a card, you can assume that's maybe like a Keeper of the Grove or a Swipe, depending on your board presence. Maybe if he doesn't play and then plays another card, he already told you that information. He already told you, hey, I have a card that can target one of your cards, and in my style of deck, those are a very limited kind of cards, either Keeper of the Grove, Swipe, or Wrath, right? So that's the sort of thing that can give you a lot of information that you can use to your advantage to plan ahead, to play around your opponent. And that's the sort of thing that I'm trying to improve on my game right now.
Right. I find that's actually a skill in Hearthstone that can take a really long time to learn compared to something like Magic for a couple of reasons. First of all, in Magic, at least typical traditional Magic, you're sitting there physically playing the game. So you don't really have anything else to do on the opponent's turn except focus on the opponent's turn. In Hearthstone, it's on your computer. So you can that's my
Twitter
opponent's turn.
and Reddit to look at.
I don't have to think about it now. I'm just going to go look at this YouTube video or watch Netflix or whatever. And so, you're not even thinking to look at what he's doing. The second thing is you can't do anything on your opponent's turn. In Magic, it's like you're going to be watching his every move because you want to know when should I counterspell.
Yeah, because you're waiting for that moment to sneak in an instant or something.
Right, because you can play your own spells and activate abilities. So you're keeping a complete eye on what he has and how much mana he has untapped and what you can do to him during his own turn. So I feel like Hearthstone doesn't really encourage you to think about the game that way. So you kind of have to really think about it and then kind of take it into your own hands to get to that level, because it's not a natural progression of how the game teaches you to think, really. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm pretty bad at that still, but I've started doing the mulligan thing. My little pet peeve with the mulligan thing, and heard this other places before, is that it basically encourages everyone to kill the timer every game, so the person can't see what you do.
Well, that's true. But that's also just if you wait a long time, but it's not so much about waiting until your opponent mulligans for you to mulligan yourself. Like, you can do that, especially if you're very unsure about like a certain tech card, and maybe their mulligan can give away if you should keep the tech card or not. Most of the time, I don't wait for them to mulligan. I'll do my mulligan, but
you're saying how you play it.
I'll build my game plan based around how many cards they kept or mulligan.
Yeah, it's just a slight advantage that I think, I don't remember for sure, but I believe Blizzard has said they don't want it to work that way, but because of the infrastructure it does. But I think in their perfect world, you won't see what the person mulligans until the game starts.
I don't like that. I think you should.
I think they should keep it like that, because honestly, it does give you an edge, but it doesn't give an edge to anyone. It gives an edge to educated players that have had a lot of experience
Everybody
with the game.
can do it, and it's only a 30-second...
See, I kind of disagree, because that means anytime that you're not waiting out the 30 seconds, you're technically making a misplay, which just makes the game 30 seconds longer than it needs to be, which seems weird to me. Because it just
very
plain
rare
incentivizes
that
waiting.
it actually burns out for the whole thing, unless you're in like a...
But technically, if you want to be playing the best game of Hearthstone you would want to be waiting that timer out every single game, just to be sure about all the information. And that seems like a weird way to incentivize the game to be played. Well, if you hit it, then you could see the mulligan and plan your play around it, but there's no incentive to literally waiting out the timer.
I think it's interesting, because for players that don't play like that, and then you go watch ESL or DreamHack or whatever, and you see the players do that, they're like, oh, why are they doing that? And then they learn from that, and they understand that, like, okay, so there's another level to this game. I
agree with other
start
levels.
thinking about.
Sure, I'm totally with you. Like, the idea of watching the other player's hand, I love. But my problem with that level of the game is it just encourages both people to wait each other out. Because if you're waiting each other out, both to the 30-second point, you're getting the exact same information you'd be getting from if they just hid the hand. So basically, if you play well, both players are going to be playing with a hidden hand through the entire mulligan phase anyway. So, like, you might as well just make that mandatory, because all it's really doing is punishing people who don't know about that mechanic. But once you're aware of that very simple mechanic of wait 30 seconds, it's adding no strategic depth to the game. You just have to wait every game.
Well, I feel like everyone at our rank, though, or like everybody above, like, past rank 15, has an idea of that mechanic and just doesn't care. And I think that should kind of punish them.
Although, I don't know. I think we should also put it in perspective. Like, it is a way that you can gain an advantage, but the advantage you gain from it is very minimal. It's just the form of information, right? If the warrior still has Fire War Axe, he's still gonna have Fire War Axe, and you're still gonna have to, deal with that. But it just gives you a little more information about the game that might be useful in one way or another.
And it's just the mulligan. So
and at the end of the day, it's just 30 seconds. If in one game you do wait the full 30 seconds, well, oh well.
Yeah, it's not
like we were just talking about. It's on your computers. If you really want to wait 30 seconds, you can be listening to a podcast or whatever and still be paying attention to that hand.
Sure. I still think it would be better to work the other way, but I totally get what you guys are saying. It's not a huge deal.
Even now that I'm doing it, it's not like I wait the whole 30 seconds. I'll still make my mulligan. I just pay attention to how many cards they kept.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I just think it might be better the other way, but it's such a small issue.
I will say, I'm a scumbag. When I'm playing Warlock, I refuse to mulligan before my opponent.
See, yeah.
it's just not happening. It tells them that I'm Zora, it tells them that I'm Handlock, and I'm like, nope, not happening.
Wait, your mulligan tells them? How?
It doesn't 100% tell them, but generally, Zoo keeps more cards in its hand.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because there's so many good low drops, and Handlock wants a more specific opening hand. And that's a big thing to be able to know going into the game. That can be huge. All right, speaking of big things that are important, Billy, you have a card for us this week.
Yeah, I do. It's cards, and I like talking about cards. This week we're talking about Lunarite, which is a... Hold on, pulling up the image just so I make sure I get everything right, even though I should already know this.
It's a Moonkin.
It is a Druid Moonkin. First Moonkin in the entirety of Hearthstone, I believe. It is a rare minion. It's a 2-cost 1/3, and it reads Battle Cry and Death Rattle. Add a Moonfire spell to your hand. What are your guys' thoughts on this card?
I really like the Lunarite. Like we were just talking, or I was just mentioning before about how there's a lot of classes that have a lot of different archetypes right now. Druid is one of those classes that has a couple of different ones. Even though
but they're all relatively similar, though.
It's very similar. Like with Druid, it's funny because you're still playing kind of like the same initial cards, like Wild Growth and Innervate, both for the aggressive Druid and the ramp Druid. You're trying to get to the late game faster, but then like depending on what cards you're using, you can make it really aggressive, like the double combo one, or you can make it very, very like top end control-y with the huge taunts and like Kel'Thuzad and stuff like that. But it would be cool to see maybe a different archetype of Druid with cards like this one, right? Which incentivize like the use of spells, maybe more like spell power driven or like low cost spells that you can trigger with other stuff, like I don't know, Auctioneer. I know like some people have tried that before with Druid, so it'd be kind of cool because in the lore of Druids, like Moon King is a huge thing, right? And they're all spellcasters about the moon and the sun and like the nature and stuff. I don't know.
The closest thing we have to Moonkin in the game is the... What's its name? They have I think they have a card art where like a spell is getting used on a Moonkin. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I just like the idea of it being like the whole game is a slow build up to Malygos. So you're like playing these things and just putting more and more.
I made this card because I wanted to enable maybe like a dragon druid, because in my head, like you play this Lunarite card on turn 2, and then on 3 you play Blackwing Technician, on 4 you play like a, I don't know, whatever.
You could Hero Power Lunarite again, or
Hero Power Lunarite, something like that. And then and on turn 4, I mean turn 5 you do like your dragon things. I mean Belcher, and then like you curve out into your dragon stuff, and then your finish is Moonfires to the face with Malygos. OP.
Because if you get 2 Lunarites out, that's 4 Moonfires, and then you play Malygos, that's gonna be so much damage for free.
24 damage.
24 damage just from your Moonfires. That's assuming you don't put actual Moonfires in your deck, which you also could do.
Yeah, you put Moonfires in your deck, you're going up to like, you're
going up to
36
OTK.
damage. Yeah.
Honestly, Moonfire sometimes is not a bad spell.
Right? The
problem, I think the main problem with Moonfire is that it takes a slot in the deck that a card that can gain more value could have. But if you're just getting free Moonfires out of the, what do you call it, Lunarkin?
Lunarite. I don't know why I call it Lunarite. It's just what came to my head. I'm sorry. Moonkin something would have made more sense.
It's a little bit like that card that I'm forgetting, the Ironforge Rifleman, where you can come down and do 1 damage. He's like a 3 for 2/2.
I originally had this guy as a 2/3, and then it occurred to me that at that point it'd be too good because you would have, if you had the spells, and theoretically if you were using them with the Lunarite, that would make Lunarite essentially a 4/3 for 2, which would be Girth.
Yeah.
So the best
I
this guy can
wouldn't
be
be
is a 3/3.
surprised, like, for example, if this card became a thing, like if they actually released something like that, maybe it just had either a battle cry or a death rattle,
And
not both.
Yeah, I can see it being a little OP, but I'm not positive yet.
Like, for example...
It's very rare, I think, that you'll be able to hold on to all the Moonfires, right?
How much is one Moonfire? 0 mana?
0 mana.
0 mana.
Deals 1 damage.
I was gonna say, like, for example, let's say against a Face Hunter, wow, this card would be amazing.
Oh
Yeah.
my
You play
gosh.
Lunarite, and then you instantly kill their Leperno or whatever little thing they have.
I had to
and then
make
you get
up for
another
it
free
because
Moonfire.
I had to make up for it. Last week I gave Hunter and aggro cards. Now I have to
You
make
gave it a 3/2 or something for
I
1
gave it
mana.
a 3/2 for 1. So
And this still doesn't respond to that.
well, it kind of does.
still
If they
doesn't
kill the
win it.
Lunarite, you can. Oh,
I
they don't
know.
even need to kill the Lunarite. You can play Lunarite, and then that thing goes face, and then next turn you double Moonfire it. Or you Moonfire it, and then you trade off to something else. It kind of
You
answers
can trade
it.
the Luterite into it and then Moonfire it. Yeah.
It very slowly answers it.
That's the problem. Everything slowly answers it. But
yeah,
I think
I
it's
would
a
love
really
to
cool
see
card.
a kind of druid like that, like a more of a caster base spells and
Mhm.
more of that kind of druid. That'd be kind of cool.
A miracle druid.
Yeah,
Dude,
because druid has a lot of spells, right? Where, for example, with Innervade, Moonfires, and
Yeah.
like they have a bunch of like damage
Gadgets,
too.
yeah,
Like I
that'd
don't
be
know,
crazy.
that could be a thing.
Yeah. I love the idea of druid cycling through a bunch of different damage spells and having a lot of versatility. Yeah, that's cool. I really like this card, Billy.
Thank you. I appreciate
Good
it.
job. All right. Well, we are now going to be moving on to our listener topic this week, which is the one we wanted to talk about last week, but didn't, but will this week. 'Cause that's not a complicated introduction at all. It comes to us from Luke, and he says, "Dear Bryan, Andres, and Billy." He starts this so formally. I like it. Very professional. I have looked a little bit into how the matchmaking rating is determined, but the best information I've been able to find is from the Hearthstone Gamepedia itself. The actual algorithm used appears to be a carefully guarded secret, which is understandable with the concern for potential cheating, match fixing, etc. I do know of one legend ranked player who keeps meticulous records and believes the MMR to be based on the win-loss ratio for his last 55 to 60 games. My main concern is this. The information from Blizzard indicates that the MMR is only used in ranked play, above legendary, and in casual mode. The fact that in ranked play below legendary, the MMR remains hidden but is used exclusively in casual poses a problem. Potentially, other than legendary ranked play, casual is the most competitive game mode. That seems silly to me, and I know many people find it disheartening and makes them not want to play. When looking for a casual game and then getting stomped over and over and over again can definitely grate on you. On the bright side, it does make it look like a good place to test deck survivability. So, do you think the ranking system is somewhat broken? Do you think it has a place in casual? Should it stop being hidden and lower ranked? Take the subject however you like. I just thought it was right for some big discussion. And then he also linked us to the Hearthstone Gamepedia on matchmaking, and there is a lot of good information there. It mostly comes from different tweets the developers have made over time. But yeah, the ranking system works pretty simply in Hearthstone, as far as we've been able to tell. There is a separate MMR rating, and basically what that is it's this idea that beyond just being like, I rank 23, so I get ranked with other 23 players, it takes into consideration what your win percentage and your lost percentage is, and tries to match you against people who have similar, at least in casual mode. So there's a separate matchmaking rating for casual, there's a separate matchmaking rating for Tavern Brawl, there's a separate matchmaking rating for legendary ranked play, but apparently ranked play itself is actually just using the current ranks you are and not really taking into account any
Is it
any
strange?
MMR.
Is it strange that I'm okay with that?
And
Like,
yeah,
that's-
okay, so why are you okay with that, Billy?
Because like the rank system, most people at my rank should be roughly as good as I am anyway. And if they're not, then they should be losing against me when they queue up into me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean? So like the rank system, for me, just using the ranks without any extra MMR on top is fine because it rates you with matchmaking by your rank. It's very hard to explain what I mean by that, but like
what I think
it makes perfect sense to me. Like I
think the benefit you could get from having an MMR that's separate from just your rank is when a season starts, you wouldn't have this weird thing of a legendary player being faced against a rank 17 player. The legendary players would kind of be fighting other good players at the lower ranks.
Legend players and higher ranked players end up at just below 20 at the start of the season, right? Or just a little bit past 20 is what I meant to say. So like 17, 15, etc. The climb from like 20 or 20, like 20 from 20, 25 to 20 for players that have just reset is quite a long time. And then going from that 20 down to like 17 where all these legendary players are, by the time they get there, all those legendary players are back down to, not at legend, but back down to where they belong, like in single digits and etc. Granted, some of them get
season, I'm often
back.
facing against people who seem like they just have like basic cards. And it would be nice if there was some system in the game that tried to, stick me with players that have been playing previous seasons and not people who are still new to the game and haven't really made it to my rank before. So I can see like some type of benefit.
I will say that you're not necessarily playing at the very start of the season, are you? You're playing
not always.
Yeah, so that there's something to be said for that. That is a good point. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I haven't really run into that because I guess because the way the time zone works, the season resets in the afternoon for me, so it's perfect time for me to start playing. So I'm always playing at the very, very start of the season reset.
Right. That makes sense. Like, what do you think about the system in general, Andres? I see like obviously the largest question here kind of revolves around there being no MMR in ranked, but there being an MMR in casual.
I'm kind of with Billy here. For a long time, I didn't like how the ladder works, but the more I play it, the more I kind of like how it is. I think that the rank system, like rank 25 to rank 1, not counting legend, but that just that chunk is like your proving grounds, right? Basically, those are like your training grounds to get to the big leagues, and the big leagues would be legend, obviously. It's almost like at legend is where the true competition starts, where all the major players and all the players who have the best understanding of the game are gonna end up eventually, especially towards the end of the season. And there's where the MMR kicks into play, right? There's when the true measuring system comes into play, where number one is gonna be the player that literally has won the most games and has the best win ratio out of everyone in that group. The problem with doing that beforehand is that I think it would be a lot harder for the average player to climb in the ranks if that was the case. Yeah,
there is something to be said about that. Like, if I was going up against... I mean, I'll be honest, like, the rank that I'm at right now, players that I'm versing aren't as good as me. Like, it's just easy to tell. Like, they're making a lot of mistakes and stuff. And that's just because I haven't played much. Like, I would be playing against people the same level as me, but I haven't been playing. So I'm at a higher rank where people are almost at that point where they could grind to legend, but they're not quite at that level yet. So I'm noticing that really one-sided matchup. And if I was a player like them, I'd find that grind harder because obviously I'd be on equal level. So almost an MMR system for such a grindy ladder, like, you know, we have to go from 25 to 1 and then past it. I feel like it would almost be worse if there was an MMR system in play because there wouldn't be those one-sided matchups where you're clearly better than the other player, which would make the grind so much harder.
Is it healthy, though, that the game basically creates a system that basically we're riding on the backs of the casual players and relying on giving them a bad experience where they lose repeatedly so we can get to legend? Like, the fact that we have to grind up there, wouldn't it be better that instead of climbing somewhere, every match we get into is pretty competitive and you don't rely on beating people who are worse than you?
Okay,
like, I wonder if that's a healthy system to begin with.
I wouldn't say rely. I think that's a bit of a harsh term. But
I'm not saying like you need it to win, but I'm saying like it perpetuates it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. For me, I feel like any casual player who, the type of player that you're talking about, I don't think is trying to get to Legend. And
Sure,
if
but they're trying to play a game and not face up against people who are way better than them and have way more cards.
Well, let's say that. At that point, they're probably a type of player who wants more of a social environment, right?
Right.
They're probably going to go into casual, or they're going to go into Tavern Brawl, or their experience isn't the same experience we're looking for. So I don't think you're allowed to cater to that, because a ranked competitive playlist is not what they're looking for anyway.
I think that has some validity to it. I think Blizzard has also thought about that, and that's one of the main reasons that they created Tavern Brawl, where it's a mode where it's just plain fun, have fun with the game, do those crazy game modes. You don't have to worry about your rank or anything. So they gave them that, and then the true thing is that even for the more casual players, if you go into ranked, you should expect a certain level of competition. And you're right, there is one flaw with this system, and that it's because from the rank 25 to 1, there's no MMR to separate the best players from the average ones and from the bad ones. It's bound to happen that even if you're at rank 15 and you're not that good, you might get matched against a legend player who just happened to not play at the beginning of the season or something. It just happens to be at that rank at the moment. And at that moment, you will probably get your ass kicked.
Can we quickly talk about the MMR system in casual?
Yeah, we can move on to that in a second. I think I was going to say one more thing about the ranked MMR, and now I was trying to remember it. Oh, yeah. I was curious, do you guys think a potential solution to this would just be once you reach Legend, every season you're just in Legend and trying to go to number 1 Legend? So it's kind of like a club you just grind up to once? Or do you think that kills too much of what Blizzard is using to get people to keep playing the game month to month?
I don't think once you should get Legend, you should be able to always be Legend, just because of one thing, and that is that this game does progress, and somebody who was Legend 2 months ago doesn't necessarily...
He's not a legend player now.
Yeah, he's not a legend player now, because this game is constantly changing, and if you're not staying informed and on top of it, you're not going to be playing at the highest level.
It's a game of all information, so that's a really good point.
That would be a perfect world for me, because I'd only have to play the game for a solid month, and then I'd be done.
But you're still getting the card back, so what else are you looking for?
What I was going to say about casual mode is that the casual mode MMR does share the same MMR that is hidden throughout your whole rank experience.
I don't think it does, actually.
It's a separate one?
I looked that up because I was trying to figure that out, and I believe, yes, it is completely separate just based on what you play in casual.
So it's only based on the games you win or lose in casual?
Correct. I'm actually double-checking that right now, but I'm pretty sure that's what I confirmed.
Well, then I think that should be fine, because in casual, you kind of want to be matched with people around your same win percentage, right?
There is a quote here from the
discrepancy there is that a lot of people assume that casual means that they're gonna fight other people with basic decks, and that just happens to not be the case.
Or people who are going into ranked and saying, this is hard, let me switch to casual, and casual might actually be more competitive for you because it's trying to match you with someone who's equal to your skill level. So if you're someone who just wants to get an easy win.
A lot of people in casual are playing competitive decks. They're just either trying to practice them or they're trying to complete quests, but they're not trying to joke around either. Sometimes you do run into the occasional like Mill Rogue or Mill Druid or just crazy offbeat decks that people definitely don't want to take into the ladder. But aside from that, you run into pretty competitive decks that people are trying to practice and are just like scared to take into the ladder at first.
I have a concept idea for you guys.
What's that?
Here's my concept idea. I want there to be a toggle button underneath the ranked player button, and I want this button to say lock. And when you lock, your losses, wins, and win streaks don't matter. So, like, no stars change at all. The reason why I want this is because I want to be able to test decks against viable decks, and I don't want to have to do it in casual where other non-viable decks are. Do you understand what I mean?
That totally.
But there's an issue there of like win trading and stuff. Like people would be able to lock at their ranked and just concede to people for wins.
I think people who are win trading already can just create an account.
You're right. But I was just gonna bring up that just so everyone was clear.
That's possible.
That
I think that's an interesting idea. It reminds me of how WoW you can turn off like gaining experience at a level if you just want to stay at that level forever. And that's kind of what I was going to say about casual, is I think a better name for it is unranked. And if you just called casual mode unranked mode, then I think it would not make people believe it's easy.
I agree
and
with
it would
that.
make people believe
The name
what
of
it
change
actually is.
might help out a lot, actually.
Yeah, because people need to understand that it's not actually casual, it's just unranked. And that's like
Yeah.
what StarCraft does. And I don't assume I'm getting an easy match when I play unranked in StarCraft. I assume I'm not participating in the ladder system.
I
which
will
is a
say
very
I
big
wish the
difference.
MMR system would be a little bit more harsh in casual. Like, there's a quote here from Ben Brode in the document that Luke sent us, and it says, Ben Brode on Twitter said, casual tries to quickly find you an opponent with equal skill. It adjusts your MMR, your hidden MMR quickly when you lose or win streak.
Yep.
I feel like it should not focus on speed of finding a match. Like, I really want to find somebody of equal skill. And what it sounds like he's saying is that it will try to put you in an equal match, but if it doesn't do that in a couple of seconds, we're going to throw you into just whoever. Or at least someone relatively close.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want it to be more certain that I run into someone with equal skill, especially in a casual playlist.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be harder than we actually think, and they might want to
That's a
keep
good
the
point.
queues like short. And like for example, today when I logged into the game, and this maintenance thing was going on, I created my arena deck, jumped into the arena, and I had a 6-minute queue time. And even though 6 minutes seems like not that long,
That seems
it was
incredibly
like
long.
I was like, wow, what? At that point, I was like, okay, I guess I'm not playing this
Yeah, like
game
in Battleground
anymore.
and WoW, you can be doing other things in WoW while waiting for it. In Hearthstone, especially on phones and stuff, if you don't have a short queue time, that's brutal.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And I think
just
for a
doesn't
lot of
work.
players in this game, like if the
Yeah.
queue time took more than a minute,
I think
or
maybe
a
what
minute and a
happened
half,
with
that might be
you,
already
though-
too long.
I think what happened with you, though, is I think the servers went down while you were searching.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Obviously, it wasn't like
it
that
was
was
just
the norm. But
the concept of how much.
yeah,
queue time could
exactly.
affect
Like
you.
if the queue times were that long, I think a lot of
I
people
will
would
say
just
there would be like an
just
easy,
abandon it.
there'd be an easy fix for this. Just add a toggle button saying
Yeah, I was
fast,
about to say the
fast
same
queue.
thing.
Like
Yeah,
fast
toggle
queue,
button that says
ignore-
prioritize speed or prioritize skill.
Yeah,
And then just
if you want to make it overly simple, just have the toggle read fast queue, so like
Yeah.
everyone understands it.
Yeah,
That
so
makes
that's
sense.
a good point. I'm personally undecided on what I would prefer. Going back to the original question of matchmaking ratings, I think you two made really good points on it. I kind of like the idea that in terms of the 1 to 25, what you see is what you get in terms of MMR. Just like I am in this pool of 10 players, I'm just going to be matched up against a random other 10 player. Sometimes I like that feeling rather than the feeling of like Heroes of the Storm where I know they're trying to give me a 50% win ratio. Sometimes it's hard to like incentivize yourself to keep playing that because you know that the game is trying to get you to the point where you win 50% of the time. So it's like how you're going to climb out of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of appreciate that about Hearthstone for sure, that you can actually, as you get better at the game, you're more likely to win because it's not putting you against people who are better in turn, at least up until Legend. So I get that, but also the points I made I think are interesting, and I'm guessing some people share them. So I'm not quite sure which side I land on.
I think
a couple more. Oh, go ahead, Andres.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think I like the latter how it is right now. I know a lot of people criticize it. A lot of people don't like it. They want a more fair thing. They want maybe longer seasons or less of a grind to Legend. But my response to that is losing sucks, and losing a lot sucks too. And getting match against players that are better than you will inevitably lose, make you or result in maybe you losing. But what I'm trying to say is, don't be discouraged by that. Don't be discouraged by facing better players than you. At the end of the day, if you're going into rank in this game and you're trying to go up the ladder, you want to eventually be able to beat these players.
That's a really good point. And Andres, I think you made a great point earlier when you said you shouldn't always be Legend, because being Legend one month is completely different than being Legend another month. And I think that goes into just viewing ladder in a different way. Instead of viewing it of, oh, I'm going to do the same grind I did before and here we go again. It's more like a new campaign in a game unlocked, because what you're facing is different. What other people are doing is different. So everything about the game changed. So it's more like playing, a sequel to your game came out in a certain way because the game is so flowing. So it's not just like you're doing the exact same thing like grinding rep in an MMO. It's just creating a system in which case you could, in giving you incentive to pit yourself against whatever the current player base is.
Yeah, in this game, you're always trying to adapt. You're always trying to learn new information. You're always trying to learn the new decks that are sparking all over the place, especially because after every expansion, there's going to be new decks, new archetypes, new stuff to explore.
Right. And I think what Blizzard is trying to promote for people, and they did that recently with the change that says what percentage of players are in, is tell you getting to Legend isn't the binary thing. You can make your goal get to rank 7 this season. You can make your goal get to rank 3, and it's still going to be a fun experience for you. Like, you don't necessarily just have to get to Legend or not get to Legend.
Yeah,
like, for me...
You were going for Legend this season, right? And you didn't quite get... Well, I don't think you're going to quite get there. I'm pretty sure we both don't think that because you're at, like, rank 4 right now, but...
Yes.
But
my goal this season was...
That's still, like... I would imagine, I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, but I would imagine that was still extremely enjoyable for you, trying to push yourself to the limits and getting higher than you've ever gone before.
Not only that, but my original goal going into this was I want to get to rank 4, because rank 5 is the highest I've ever been before. So really? I did reach that goal. Legend was just my goal on top of that, because I did so well.
Right.
But yeah. And that's a really fun way to look at the game, and I think it's how Blizzard wants people to start looking at ranked because of that thing they introduced, where it's like, you're in the top 7% of players, so letting you know that, like, Legend isn't the end-all and be-all. I think we've talked about it before, and we're going to have to wrap up here because I have another podcast to record. But the last thing I wanted to say on that was I think what we've talked about before is a reward system for that would be really nice. You know, a tiered reward system.
That was the only thing
Legend.
that I was going to say. I like the latter, how it is right now, especially because it incentivizes just you getting better. Especially if you want to get Legend, you just have to get better to improve your win ratio. But... anything before Legend is rather unrewarding at the end of the season. If you make anything but Legend at the end of the season, you gain nothing aside from like, hey, congratulations, you got rank 3, you get a couple stars at the beginning of the season.
The Legend again.
And it's kind of anticlimactic, right? At least if they gave you like a little gold or a little dust based on your performance, just like something, right? To make like all that effort that you did throughout the whole month a little more worthwhile for the people who actually took the time, because getting to Legend has its own reward, right? You get the card back, then you get to say you got to Legend, you get the experience. It's fun.
Andres, I have a question for you. As a previous Legend player or a former Legend player, what rank do you end up at the next season when they reset you? If you're at Legend
17.
17?
Yeah.
Okay, I have an official proposition. At rank 15, rank 10, and rank 5, when you pass all of those ranks, you get 100 gold at each one.
That would be great. Yeah, something like that. I like that a lot.
You can make it like that. I would honestly rather it be like a end of season kind of thing. Yeah. So you do like the whole effort, and then once you finish the season, they give you a rank. It may be like a little chest, and the chest contains rewards based on how high you got.
The chest must be based on how high you get and not where you end, though, because I don't want them disincentivizing people to play. Like, I reach rank 5, but I don't want to lose that 500 gold, so I'm just going to stop playing now.
Oh, I see. So it counts like the highest rank that you got into the season?
Yeah, because if you drop down, it would just be too frustrating losing tangible rewards in addition. It would just, it would. But I totally agree that based on the highest rank would be awesome. That was a really good discussion. Oh my gosh, that topic proved really great. So thank you, Luke. I didn't know we had that much to say on the topic, but
I had doubt in the topic. I thought we were just going to read numbers and stats and then just like be boring, but the topic really came through. Thank you, Luke.
Totally. Speaking of our community coming through, we do have a new iTunes review this week.
Nice.
I'm pulling it up now, and my computer's being slow. There we go.
You didn't have to go into depression mode.
I was so close. Oh my gosh. He really he saved everything. So he gives us a 5-star review. The deck is Awesome Cast, and it is by Laser Cat Lulz. And he says, thanks for the awesome podcast to everyone. I listen to every podcast for about 2 months now. I'm very satisfied with the content and even wish it was longer. Well, this week is, so congratulations. I listen to this at work every time there's a new episode, and I find your show both informational and very entertaining. Thanks, everyone, and please keep up the great work. P.S. Andres is my fave.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, Billy, We're in the sad club now.
I know, right?
Well,
Me and
Billy
you gotta-
Billy has a fan too, right? That didn't he come to the hangout?
You're right. And he said Billy was his favorite. What's
There-
wrong with me?
I'm sorry, Bryan.
Apparently, no one appreciates the hosting or the putting all of this together or any of that.
That's just it. I am the 4.377th podcast
Oh my
host.
god, we haven't made that joke in like 3 episodes.
on
Oh my
iTunes.
gosh.
That's because I don't really want to talk about our ranking right now.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
We'll be back next week when I manage to grease a few palms and get a few bribes in there, and then we're back up to the top of the charts.
Nice,
So
nice.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, everyone. If you want to leave us an iTunes review, just search Hearthaholics on iTunes and you will find us. We super appreciate them. As always, we'll read them out on the show, and thank you, everyone who has left reviews so far. You can also email us, list our topics like we had this week at hearthaholics@gmail.com. We are on Twitter at Hearthaholics, and just search Hearthaholics on YouTube or Facebook, and you'll find us there too. We are a project of the Whales Are Whales Network, so head over to whalesareWhales.com for other awesome shows like this with awesome people like us. And finally, we do a game night for the Angry Chicken, a fellow Hearthstone podcast. It really inspired us to get going, where our community grew from. So check out their subreddit, /r/TAC podcast, I believe is it. And yeah, you can find everything there. And we do it every Tuesday at 8 p.m. CST. So check that out. And you can play Hearthstone with us and everyone else, all our regulars who come. And we typically these days do a bunch of tavern brawls. And it is awesome. I already can't wait to see what we're going to have next.
Yeah, I'm
tomorrow.
excited to see tomorrow. I'm so sad that I missed the last 2.
That was such a bummer. Also, it is Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays now because of Tavern Brawl. But yeah, I really hope you can make it soon, Andres.
Yeah, absolutely, because those things seem super, super fun.
They've been fantastic recently with the Tavern Brawl. So, Andres, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. You can also find my work and all the music that I do on my website, massevemusic.com. You spell that MASSEVE music. Including the theme song for this podcast over here. So check it out.
Fantastic. And Billy?
You can find me at Twitter at @BBrawly, and you can find me on Twitch at twitch.com. No, twitch.tv. Oh my gosh, Twitch, why are you so confusing?
Twitch.edu.
Listen, Brian, I'm trying to plug here.
Twitch.gov.
Twitch.tv/BBrawly, YouTube.com/BrawlyHS, Twitter.com/BBrawly. That's where you can find me.
All right.
You
can
sound
find
like
me-
a sergeant. Like a...
Here, listen up here, sir. All right. I am Lord Meldor on Twitter. That is LORDMELDORR. And you can find all my other internet stuff at whalesareWhales.com because I run that with my brother. And with that, we are going to sign off with this week's flavor text. The shrapnel is way worse than the explosion.
Let the hunt begin.